In this clip, Docker Captain Michael Irwin and I answer a question about Swarm storage and volumes and volume drivers for storing persistent data inside your Swarm cluster. Rob asks, what is the best simple, clean file management system for shared volumes across a Swarm cluster? Have you ever used Storage OS? This is for very small clusters, 3 to 5 nodes. What do you think?
Am I answering that or you?
Yeah, you are. You are. I'm giving you the question, sir.
No, that's fine. I mean, so I'll admit I haven't used Storage OS, so I don't know if
Neither have I.
played with it at all. But honestly, for most of on tech campus, anyways, we've got a NetApp storage array. So pretty much all of our stuff we're using NetApp for that. But yeah, the idea is kind of just get it off the box, have some sort of network share. I know Brett's a big fan of RexRay and talks about that quite often, and has lots of capabilities to do things or getting your volumes off the host machine itself. But so yeah, I think it's really just going to depend on what you have available to you. You know, if you're running AWS, you've got a certain set of tools. If you're in Azure, you've got another set of tools. But yeah.
Yeah, and I'm looking up Storage OS real quick. So I like to lump it. I like to lump it in two different types of buckets for storage. Either you're using existing storage that you have on the network, and whether that's iSCSI or NAS or Fiber Channel or some sort of proprietary protocol, some sort of thing on Windows that SIFs, SMB shares, Samba shares. There's all types of file sharing protocols, and some of them are exclusive, where you can only connect to one host at a time, and that's nothing to do with Docker. This is all just pure storage, because Docker doesn't really change any of the rules of storage. It just is it's the tool that helps you use plugins to connect your containers to storage that you might have. Really, it's not going to give you any new capabilities in storage. So you have to decide if you're going to use those kind of shared storages, which are usually like NetApp, right? Other Dell EMC things and all these other sort of options out there. There's lots of that stuff. Some of them have Docker plugins, and you would add those plugins onto all your nodes, and then you could use that storage for your containers, whether that's Docker Run or Swarm or whatever. And then there's the other bucket, which is getting some sort of software protocol that replicates or moves data around different nodes. So it doesn't require specialized hardware or something off server. It just replicates, like Ceph or other tools. There's open source tools. There's Portworx and paid tools like that. I'm not sure which bucket the Storage OS is in. It might do replication, or it might provide. There's an acronym I'm forgetting, or a term for shared nothing storage, which is, I used to be all about left hand before HP bought away a decade ago. Left hand was all about putting software on your servers, and then that any spare space on your servers could be used for any other servers for shared storage on the network, and I think that's called shared nothing storage. But there's all sorts of storage architectures, and you can use just about any of those that I can think of in containers. It's just a question of how do you get your cluster to it. So Swarm isn't necessarily special. It can use any of those storage systems, but usually what you want to do is you want to have the container, when Swarm schedules a task, whatever node it decides to put that task on for your service, you need the storage over there, right? So the job of a storage orchestrator like RexRay is to get the storage connected to the node where it needs to be used for that container. And some people don't use something like that. They just use regular plugins or regular even just mounting stuff hard onto a server, like manual EBS mounting or something like that. They might just do that on the host if they're pinning containers right on that node, right? They're just hard coding those. But most of us that are trying to be flexible and create a cluster that allows things to move around, we can't do that. So RexRay is one of those tools that can solve that problem. Another way is to replicate. Now, RexRay doesn't provide you the storage. It just acts as a go-between between your containers and some other storage backend like NetApp, or cloud storage like EFS or EBS or DigitalOcean's block storage or whatever, right? So I have not used Storage OS, so I don't have any recommendations on that. My recommendation is it's not hard to try, right? You can, most of these things, either they're free or you can download demos of them and you can install them into a 3-node swarm. Upload your, use Docker app to load up your compose files, run your stacks, and just see if it works. Right? You can create this all in virtualization. Usually, you don't need pure dedicated hardware unless you're trying to use something like NetApp or some other piece of dedicated hardware where you have to ask a storage person for an iSCSI LUN and those things. So it's not hard to try. I recommend playing around with lots of these tools before you commit to something, because storage can be one of those things where it seems like it's working and then it stops working, and it's related like all these tools are not bug free, right? Rexray has had issues. Someone pointed out, and then I discovered on my own an issue on DigitalOcean block storage where if you disconnect storage and reconnect it multiple times by moving containers around, the node may eventually not be able to reconnect the block storage until you reboot the node, and I think that's something to do with a driver bug. So anyway, doesn't mean it's not worth trying. It just means that you need to do things like fail your nodes to see if that even works, fail your apps to see if the storage rolls over and stuff like that. So hopefully that helps. Hey, thanks for watching. Remember to click subscribe and the notification bell if you want to know when I go live every week to talk about Docker and DevOps and take your questions. I also have other videos over here, or you could just go try to solve that Rubik's Cube you got at a conference last year.